Welcome to Rivonomics. I am Salahuddin. Today you discover and distinguish between the financial ecosystem and the Rivonomics framework. The real-world financial ecosystem is about data, markets, transactions, regulations, institutions. And the metaphorical Rivonomics framework is all about symbols, flows, archetypes, terrains, pathways. These two domains do belong to the same category. Finance is equal to the numerical, mechanical, literal, cold and serious, and the practical world. Rivonomics is equal to the symbolic, interpretive, metaphorical, and the meaning-making world. Comparatively, the world of finance is like a territory, and the world of Rivonomics framework is like a map, a metaphoric, cognitive, conceptual, interpretive map. Though the economics territory looks like a more serious matter given its nature, but a metaphoric conceptual monetary map can have more influence and utility than a mere territory given its nature of explaining the unseen factors behind the visible complex structure of finance. This is exactly what Rivonomics framework does. You may assume that metaphors are for imagination, that they are impractical, ungrounded, unrealistic, or even unasked for. But in reality, metaphors are the powerful way through which humans understand the rational or intimidating matters and systems. Even financial experts, economists, often speak in metaphorical language. Examples: the market has momentum, inflation eats your savings, interest snowballs, capital flows into strong sectors, liquidity is drying up, the market bubble burst, economic cycles. These are all metaphors, all symbolic language, all non-literal, because money itself is not literal. It is conceptual, sociological, psychological, behavioral, pattern-based. Financial reality is abstract. It is built on non-physical concepts like value, trust, credit, debt, interest, risk, expectation, confidence, markets, sentiment. None of these exist as physical objects. They are psychological, social, and conceptual constructs. And abstract realities are always explained skillfully and intelligibly by using metaphors. The river system metaphor describes exactly how the entire financial world actually works overall and underneath. Rivonomics is an intuitive and interpretive model of vague and hard to understand monetary system. It is how the human mind can naturally and readily understand the complex financial phenomena. The serious finance world is not what makes money move. The irony is that the mechanical, rational world of finance is built on top of psychology, human behavior, trust, flow, patterns, metaphors, narratives, meaning. Even the most serious financial thinkers rely heavily on systems metaphors, flow analogies, behavioral economics, intuitive models, symbolic reasoning, narrative explanations. This is why the denser the topic is, the simpler the metaphor is required. The money river analogy is the translation layer between financial complexity and monetary comprehension. Rivonomics is not meant to replace the established knowledge of finance. Instead, Rivonomics is meant to explain how money behaves inside the social and personal ecosystem. Finance explains markets, institutions, charts, mechanisms, regulations. Rivonomics explains flow, resistance, orientation, path, direction, psychological currents, money flow behavior. Even if these are of not the same domain, but they are indeed complementary. If finance is the how money numerically works like abstract formulas, Rivonomics is the how money metaphorically behaves like a river system. This is meta thinking. Metaphor is the oldest human teaching method and tool for explaining the unexplainable. Rivonomics is neither replacing the functional reality of financial systems such as banks, markets, investing, accounting, business structures, economic theories, nor is Rivonomics trying to stand equal to the monetary jargons and technical domains. Rivonomics is meant to replace confusion, emotional chaos, personal misalignment, inner turbulence, self-sabotage, lack of financial clarity, cognitive blindness. Rivonomics explains what, how, and where the monetary world moves. It explains why and when you move the way you do in that world. While finance gives abstract numbers, Rivonomics gives visual meaning. While finance teaches the mechanics of cash flow, Rivonomics teaches the navigation in that cash flow. Finance explains the territory, Rivonomics draw the map. Both does same jobs with different tools, both equally necessary, both equally valuable. This framework is not only useful for the experts in the finance world, it is also very helpful for the novice, the beginners, lost in the financial world, who are drowning in chaos and need a money river map to proceed and follow. Because when the lost and confused look at finance or economics, they see a world that is intense, technical market reality, hyper-structured, highly abstract, transactional, commercial. There is a huge population that cannot understand finance, feels intimidated by numbers, feels lost around money, feels underprepared, feels emotionally overwhelmed, feels they lack knowledge and structure, feels they need a map, not formulas or spreadsheet. For many of these, Rivonomics explains finance better than pure economics jargon and technical terms. Rivonomics gives people orientation, narrative, visuals, psychological clarity, step-by-step optical direction, a spontaneous grasp, and an imagery perspective. Rivonomics explains the terrain humans walk in. Rivonomics explains human behavior towards money making and wealth building. Primarily, Rivonomics explains the you inside the overall monetary ecosystem. The Rivonomics framework map may look simple compared to the complex financial world which it describes using the river system metaphor. But remember, without the map, the territory becomes harder or impossible to navigate properly or even beneficially. Though the financial domain and the Rivonomics framework operate on different layers of reality, they both serve the same human needs for survival, security, movement, growth, exchange, and flow. I am not a financier, I am not an economist, I am not a trader. My expertise is not in the marketplace, my limit is in the ecosystem of the marketplace and the minds that navigate there. I am a map maker, a cartographer of financial psychology, a framer of external as well as an internal money river path towards money making and wealth building, or even a kind of a hydrologist who studies water and its properties, distribution and movement, as well as the relationship of water resources with the rest of the environment. Rivonomics framework doesn't compete with finance but only humanly explains what finance otherwise cannot describe. Rivonomics YouTube channel doesn't build financial content. It builds a worldview about financial system using the example of the river system. The framework benefits people who are meaning seekers, reflective, overwhelmed by finance, who want clarity, not jumbling terms and jargon. People who do not want raw finance but a map for understanding the world of monetary system and their actual as well as their desirable position inside it. Rivonomics is that kind of map and guidance. It is the translation layer the world is needing. Finance alone cannot explain why people sabotage themselves, why people fear money, why some people flow and others stagnate, why certain personalities stay loser commercially, why opportunity passes by unnoticed, why people get drowned and broke in transactional chaos, why money comes to some easily and escape from others untraceably. Because finance deals with numbers, systems, transactions. Rivonomics deal with bridges, terrain, weather, currents, vessels. The internal landscape of financial system and life. This is psychology, this is behavioral economics, this is symbolic cognition, this is human navigation. Rivonomics framework may look or sound too simple in comparison to the 400 years of developing financial system, having 10,000 books, 200 million professionals, trillions of transactions, global adoption. But the undeniable, unignored universal law is that maps look simpler than territories, that maps are always elementary, primary and basic than the territory. But without the map, the territory is mostly difficult or even confusing to navigate. When a river territory is drawn on a map, it looks like simple lines, shapes and colors. But those very simple lines, shapes and colors represents mountains, valleys, rainfall, erosion, climate, seasonal changes. A map is not childish or a child's plaything. A map is condensed truth and fact. Rivonomics framework is that condensed truth of how money behaves as a flow through the social system and personal life. And this Rivonomics map is greatly practical and reforming. It is a navigation system for the lost, the overwhelmed, the confused. The ones who feel finance is too cold, life is too chaotic, and money is too mysterious. Because finance teaches strategy, tactics, structural system, whereas Rivonomics framework teaches orientation, understanding, and introduces the inner self inside the monetary system. And remember, with this metaphoric map is how most can survive in this unfriendly, hostile, and unforgiving territory of finance. I am Salahuddin. This is Rivonomics, and you are awakening.